Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. Tonight, I invite you into a house where silence was never safety. She was young, devout, and restless in her sleep. Those around her said it was only nerves, exhaustion, the strain of studies. But in the still hours, when the lamps went cold, she awoke not to dreams, but to something pressing down upon her chest. Her family heard the cries first. A voice, not her own, deep and fractured, clawing at the night. Her body would convulse with unnatural strength, as if unseen hands were twisting her bones. No medicine brought relief, no prayer calmed the storm. In time, the walls themselves seemed to pulse with dread. Shadows lingered too long, whispers traveled without breath, and every night the battle began anew. She tried to hold on to faith, yet each dawn left her weaker, as though something had stolen a part of her soul. They feared she was no longer alone inside her own body. The nights grew crueler. What began as whispers of torment twisted into full possession of her body. She would seize violently, her eyes rolling back, her jaw locked in screams that seemed to echo from beneath the earth itself. Witnesses described her body contorting in ways no human should survive. The strength she wielded terrified her family. It took several grown men to restrain her frail frame. Her skin bruised where no blow had landed. Her voice shifting between tones, childlike one moment, monstrous the next. She refused to eat. When food was placed before her, she claimed it reeked of rot. Holy objects, once comforting, became unbearable to her. Crucifixes torn from walls, prayers met with guttural laughter. And then her visions began. She spoke of figures no one else could see, dark beings that stalked her room, leering, mocking, waiting for her soul to fracture completely. Each encounter drove her further from reality, until her family knew this was no illness of the mind. The battle for her body was no longer private. The church was called. The ritual began in secret. Candles lit the room, their flames bending as if pushed by unseen winds. The priest's words carried like knives into the silence, and with each verse, she writhed harder, as though every syllable struck her flesh. Her voice erupted in screams that shattered glass. She laughed in guttural tones, naming things she could not know, recounting sins of strangers in the room. At times, she spoke in languages never taught to her. At others, her mouth opened wide, too wide, filled with a sound like breaking metal. The air grew heavy, stinking of sulfur. Witnesses swore they saw her body lifted from the bed, twisted in midair before crashing to the floor. Her eyes glowed with a manic fury, darting at every cross, every prayer, mocking their weakness. Hour after hour, the battle raged, but this was no single foe. She claimed many voices lived inside her, each speaking through her lips, mocking, taunting, demanding that she be left to them. Her body withered, her spirit drained, and still the rites continued, desperate to break the hold that dragged her further from the living. When the final prayers were whispered, her body lay trembling, sweat soaking the sheets, lips cracked from hours of screams. The room reeked of iron and sulfur, a stench that clung to the walls as though the air itself had been poisoned. For a fleeting moment there was silence. The candles guttered low, the chanting faltered, and her family believed perhaps the ordeal had ended. But the silence was only a cruel trick. She awoke with a violent cry, her eyes burning, her voice a layered chorus of defiance. The ritual had not driven the intruders away. It had enraged them. Hours turned into days. Her body weakened, her weight falling away, her bones showing through paper-thin skin. She no longer resembled the girl she had once been, but a vessel hollowed out, sustained only by torment. Her visions grew sharper, more relentless. She described beasts slithering in the corners of her room, shadows that stretched across the ceiling, hands reaching from the floor to drag her down. She begged for mercy in one breath. Then in the next, she spat venom, laughing at the priests who stood powerless before her. The voices inside her mocked every prayer, promising her family that she was theirs, that no god could claim her now. Her body endured assaults no human should survive. Witnesses swore her bones bent unnaturally, her spine arching until it seemed it would snap. At times, she collapsed, unconscious, her face frozen in expressions not her own. Then she would awaken with sudden strength, hurling men twice her size against the walls, one moment fragile as glass, the next a storm of rage. As the months dragged on, she began to accept her fate. She told her family that she was chosen to suffer, that her torment was not meaningless, but a battle fought on behalf of others. She believed she bore the burden of possession so others might be spared. Her lips bruised, her voice hoarse, she declared her suffering was a sacrifice. The last night came without warning. Her breathing shallow, her frame skeletal, she whispered prayers through cracked lips. Her family gathered close, pleading for her to hold on, but her gaze was already elsewhere. Some said she smiled faintly, as though she glimpsed something just beyond their reach. And then, with a final, rattling sigh, she slipped into silence. The authorities, the church, the doctors, none could agree on what had happened. Some declared it a crime, blaming her death on superstition and negligence. Others swore the evidence was undeniable. She had been consumed by forces beyond the human world. Photographs, recordings, and testimony spread like wildfire, igniting debate across nations. Was she the victim of illness, or the victim of something unspeakably real? The story you just heard is no invention. You can look it up. The incident is called The Exorcism of Annalisa Michel, later adapted into film as The Exorcism of Emily Rose, a story not only of possession, but of a world forced to confront what it refuses to believe. And so, Vault listeners, let this tale haunt you. For in every creak of the floorboards, in every whisper of the night, there may linger a reminder that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Subscribe to the Vault and never walk alone again. We upload daily, and one night, the story may no longer belong to a stranger, but to you.